So thank you, Gabriel, again for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here with you and with the audience. And especially, I'm delighted to have here Chiara, both Giovenzana and Marconi, as well as Monica, some of the best female entrepreneurs in Italy right now. So I would say, without further ado, I would actually ask the speakers tonight to just present themselves with a couple of words, and then I'll start I'll start joining them with some questions. A couple of words on me, if you want, prior to starting. I'm Alessandro. I'm the manager of the Entrepreneur Selection and Growth team here at Endeavor Italy. So my job basically is to wandering around the whole country looking for the best entrepreneurs to come. Of course, I actually have the chance of meeting tons of female entrepreneurs as well. But actually in Italy, and I'm sure like our speakers tonight will deep dive on that. In Italy, we have some issues regarding female entrepreneurship. It's something which is actually quite an issue because only around 10% of entrepreneurs in Italy are female. So it's something definitely worth looking into and expanding in terms of knowledge and in terms of next actions to do. So without further ado, I would actually leave the floor to Monica, if you can present yourself in a couple of minutes, and then to Chiara and to the other Chiara, and then I come back to Monica for the first questions.
Hi, thank you very much, Alessandro, for introducing me, and thank you very much for invitation to this panel. I'm Monica Ragazzi. I'm the CEO of HomePal. HomePal is a startup in Italy. We are working in the real estate industry, and we are basically the first Italian real estate agency completely digital. So basically, we managed to digitalize the entire process of the real estate agents, from the initial visit to the property till the closing of the transaction. We are pretty proud of being able to digitalize completely this process, because in Italy this industry is still quite old and really old-fashioned working. So basically we basically put the basis for a huge turnaround of this industry and sector. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Monica.
Please.
Chiara Marconi, if you can go next. I think you're muted.
Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you, Alessandro, for introducing me, and above all for inviting me to this panel. So I'm Chiara Marconi, CEO and co-founder of Kite. Kite is, of course, an Italian startup, but above all, we are the first underwear brand to have developed an online customization platform that gives the chance the women to create online their own bra. We started from the discovery that 80% of women wear the wrong size bra, which is actually quite a problem in females' daily life. And we decided to bring innovation into typically very traditional realm of Italy, which is fashion. So we only work with independent artisans to provide a high quality made in Italy products, which is, however, created fully online thanks to 3D technology. I am very proud to say that we make lingerie for women made by women, because we only work with female artisans. And above all, our team is composed by 10 amazing women. Still, I must say that being a female entrepreneur in Italy is a wonderful journey, but not that easy.
Thank you, Chiara. And I would leave the floor to Chiara Giovenzana to end up this first round.
Thanks, everybody, and thanks for, especially for inviting me on this panel. I love the last sentence that Chiara mentioned, that starting a company, being an entrepreneur is an amazing journey. So I'm a scientist by training in biotechnology, and after that I co-founded and I was the CEO of my first startup, a biotech startup, that was a few years ago. Afterwards, I started a second company, and today I'm the CEO of this second company. It's a consulting company. So I help other entrepreneurs, institutions, startups building their own business. And I help and consult also investors. So I'm always with one foot on technology and the other one on business and strategy. So that's my journey, and I combine the scientific portion with the business one.
Thank you, Chiara. So I think, as the audience has already realized, the main reason for which we picked you three is basically that you represent three different generations of entrepreneurship in Italy, completely different sectors, completely different reasons for which you ended up as entrepreneurs. So actually, my first round of conversation would focus on how you three decided on the very first place to become entrepreneurs, which were the reasons at the very beginning which made you make this decision, and what happened next. So Monica, if you can start with your story, and then I'll deep dive with some more inside questions.
Yeah, with great pleasure. I have a long background in consulting industry. I have been working with BCG for some 15 years. And I mean, I was really in love with that job. But I mean, in a career of a consultant, at a certain point, you ask yourself, will I die as a consultant, or is there a moment where maybe you really want to jump in the real life? And for me, that moment came after I got a baby girl. She was, I think, 2-3 years old, and I was started asking myself. On one side, I mean, I was never at home, and so on one side I was working on that front, and on the other side I was really, started thinking about I really wanna do things myself. I mean, I was really, fed up with giving advice to my clients, and they were implementing things in a very different manner compared to what I had in mind. So at a certain point, I said, I really need to do a different thing. And so I was like looking around, and initially, I was probably thinking about going and work for one of my clients. I was working in the financial services industry. But I mean, comparing the different opportunities, there was this one, this startup was actually a client of mine who had this idea, and he was talking to me and saying, look, we should go for it together. After initial moment, I was really kind of worried. Then my husband was saying, look, if I look at your eyes, the only moment where you are really, spreading joy is when you talk about your the startup, about home health. And so, I took the decision. I decided to jump in this adventure, because it's really an adventure. Not easy at all, because every day you have to fight a new battle. But honestly speaking, is really exciting, and every day I say to myself, I should have taken this decision much earlier.
Nice. No, that's something amazing to hear. Actually, a nice note to underline basically is the fact that you have some co-founders who are male. So the next question would be, how did you manage actually to convince them to join you, as co-founders in these adventures?
Can you repeat the? Sorry, can you repeat the last part, because
How did you manage actually to convince your male co-founders to join you with this startup adventure? Actually,
we were talking. We were talking about it we have been talking for a while, because one of the things is, to me, is have a good idea and then test as many people as you can, because you have to try to explain the idea and understand, if it's clear enough, or maybe you you get some feedback and you can think about. And so we started from that point, and at a certain point we decided that the moment we had reached the moment to go, and so basically we launched the startup, the company.
Nice, thank you, Monica. Next, I would ask Chiara if you can also share some insights about your personal story. If you can provide us with some details, how you ended up, traveling around the world and getting back to Italy, and so on and so forth.
Yes, thanks. Yes, as I said, I started as a scientist, and so when I was a kid, my dream was to become a professor at the university and discover the solution for HIV or other big illnesses. So that was my dream. So that's why I studied the biotechnology, and that's why I did the PhD. And I jumped on the idea of a startup really by accident. So I won this Fulbright fellowship that sent me to Silicon Valley. So I spent 6 months there. And after that, it was impossible for me to not realize that I was just in love with the idea of starting a company. Because it's when you start a company, you can really shape something, you can create something. So it's giving the shape, the birth to a new project, and you do that with your teammate, with your co-founders. So it's an amazing team job, and at the end of the day, you see the startup that is growing little by little. So for me, it's when I came back after the period in Silicon Valley, my professor asked me, so now you go back to be a scientist? I was like, no way, really no way. And especially working with the rest of the team, for me, has been extremely important, even if it's tough. So for example, in my case, I realized that I was not aligned with my teammates. So even if I was the CEO of the company, I've been kicked out by my co-founders in my startup after 2 years. And it was my fault because I didn't notice that we were not aligned, that even if it seemed that we were on the same page, actually we were not. So building a team, leading a team, it's tough. It's tough. But I think that women often are facilitated in this role because often I'm generalizing, so of course there are tons of exceptions, and but often women are more empathic. So usually it should be easier for us to work with our teammates, but even though for me it's been amazing but tough. So at the end of the day, I ended up by myself, out of my company, out of my own company, and it's been a really interesting journey. The great thing is that after a few months, I got back in touch with my co-founders, and till now I'm a great friend with all of them. So it's just a matter of realizing if we are all on the same page or not.
No, absolutely. That's very insightful. Also, something which should be borne in mind from a gender-neutral point of view. So not just from a female point of view. Every entrepreneur should take note on that, because it's very, very important to keep fully aligned with your co-founders. But now I'm curious about what happened next. So you got back to Italy after this adventure. Why you ended up being in your own country again, where you didn't spend your next years in the Silicon Valley, where you ended up founding your own company and so on and so forth. So
actually, between coming back to Italy and between leaving the first startup and coming back to Italy, there's been another period again in Silicon Valley where I worked with Singularity University, an institution based in Silicon Valley. So after a few years, exactly 5 years ago, I decided to come back to Italy because I have a big dream. I want to have an impact in my own country. So I've been abroad for 15 years. And I kept dreaming of being able to help my country, to help my city. And so when you dream something one day and the next day and the next day, and everything that you do is really leading you to wanting to do something for the place you're from, I was like, you know what? I needed to go back. I can't help my country staying on the other side of the world. So I quitted my job with Singularity University and I came back. And I just love being here. Italy is an amazing place.
I totally agree. No, I'm biased, of course, but I cannot agree more.
Me too.
Chiara Marconi, could you also provide us with some insights on how you became an entrepreneur? You also came back to Italy, like in an earlier age, somehow, like going back to a very traditional sector, trying to innovate it from scratch. So can you describe a little bit more how you ended up being there?
Absolutely. And my decision, honestly speaking, sort of came out of the blue because my background is in diplomatic studies. So when the idea about Kite came out, I was working for the United Nations and I was living between Rio de Janeiro and Geneva, and I was doing something completely different. And I was so in love with what I was doing at the beginning that I would have never thought about changing, completely changing path. The reason that makes me wake up every day in the morning is because I want to have an impact in my life on other people. So I'm the sort of feminist, like not the feminist hard way, but what I truly want to do is to support women, because I've seen how much women have changed over the past even 30 years, 20 years. And I think that most women, they're not so sure about themselves yet, and they don't understand what their potential is. So my dream when I entered the United Nations was to have an impact in my life. But then I realized that having an impact through the public sector is pretty much impossible. I learned the hard way that such huge international organizations, although they have an amazing scope and amazing goals, they're really huge machines that takes ages to see something actually being concrete. And so I decided to completely swap and go with the private sector. But then again, I realized that to become the kind of woman that I want to be and being able to give a positive message to other women and help other women, the first thing that I had to do was to try on my own skin, how is it to create something? How is it to become an entrepreneur? How hard it is. And I must say that it has been quite hard at the beginning, because neither me nor my business partner, Federica, we come from fashion or economic. So when we started out at the beginning, we had no idea whatsoever about how was it working in the fashion industry in Italy. We didn't even know, for example, that a simple seamstress or a tailor, they can't make bras, because you need to find someone who is very specific in doing that job. So it has been hard at the beginning, but after almost 3 years now, here we are with a team that is growing day by day, and we just launched in the UK market.
It's absolutely amazing what you're doing in such a traditional sector. So thank you again, Chiara, for your contribution. Now, going back to Monica, something I'm really curious about is actually what's next for female entrepreneurship in Italy, because a big issue in Italy right now is that compared to 2 generations ago, the entrepreneurship rate between 24 and 34 years old has dropped from 52%, around 50% to 12%. This means that new generations are less and less entrepreneurial. So do you have any idea on these? How would the future look like, especially, of course, with a lens on female entrepreneurship? And do you have any advice on how we could cope for that?
I mean, very tough question, obviously. I mean, as we said, and as you probably may have understood, I mean, from our personal experience, I mean, the situation in Italy is not that easy. I want to go back for a second to a research that we did in BCG. It was like one of the last things I did before quitting. And basically, I mean, there are three things, three elements, which are particularly important in developing the entrepreneurial world. And this is basically, I mean, the three are access to financial capital, access to human capital, and access to what we call social capital, but is kind of an holistic view of, I mean, all the components, and specifically is referring also to the social, the relationship part, and so the networking part. So I strongly agree, and I mean, I'm pretty convinced that those three are the three pillars we need to work on them. I mean, there is definitely an idea, and I think can be, I mean, one of the reasons why women entrepreneurship in Italy is lagging behind is that, I mean, on these three aspects, women may have a bit more difficulties. Personally, I think that we rely, I mean, and we see in this situation definitely an unconscious bias. When we talk about financial capital, access to financial capital, to me is more an unconscious bias of the overall context. And I'm referring, for example, to a business partner, to venture capital, to investor in general. I mean, if you consider, when they consider a male entrepreneur, same age, same brilliant idea, there definitely can be unconscious, but there is definitely a different perception on what they have in front. So on this one, to me, I mean, is something we need, is one aspect we need to work as a system, as a country, mostly on culture. On culture of the country, on the people, and definitely we need to talk about and to give I mean, view and visibility to all the examples that we have, I mean, of successful women entrepreneurs. When we talk about the access to human capital, and so I'm talking more about, I mean, probably the skills, the soft skills and the competence in general. To me, in this area, I believe this is more an unconscious bias by women themselves. Because in some cases, women, I mean, we as women, we kind of put limits to ourselves. And we have a lot of them in the country. And just to make example, I mean, what I've seen, I mean, now that I'm meeting, I mean, many startups, I'm participating to different networks. I see a lot of female entrepreneurs, a lot of startups led by women. Then maybe what you see is that there are more difficulties in scaling them up. And in this case, I mean, obviously, this is on our own. We really need to push ourselves because we can do, we as women, we can do. In some cases, we are even better than our male, I mean, the male entrepreneur. But sometimes we put ourselves some limit and we kind of stop and we don't jump, as I used to say. In terms of the third pillar, so like the social capital and the relationship and the networking, in my opinion, we are doing a lot. So we are already in the right direction because there are a lot of opportunities. If I compare the situation when I started as a startup or when I started my career, I mean, the occasion and the opportunity for I mean, for networking and really to have exchange of experience, I mean, are much wider now. Therefore, I mean, in my opinion, on this pillar, we are working into the right direction.
Thank you, Monica. Actually, going back to you, Chiara G, and what I would like to do is some sort of comparison with the US environment in this, no? Because as you mentioned before, like you ended up being the CEO of a biotech company in the Valley. You ended up, attracting human resources, probably financial capital as well. What do you see are, the main differences, both in terms of mentality, in terms of environment with Italy, and also how do you see Italy could improve in that, in a realistic manner somehow, like, in concrete ways?
Yeah. So actually my biotech company, our biotech company was in Switzerland, not in the Valley. So I was going back and forth, but the headquarters and the scientific team was in Switzerland. So I had the privilege to see how it is to build a company, a startup in Switzerland, in the German part of Switzerland, in the Valley, and in Italy. And I can say that the approach and the mentality is very different. The ecosystems are extremely different. I think that what I saw is that, especially in the Valley, the self-confidence, and for this I go back with to what Monica was saying, women show to have a much higher self-confidence than Italian women. I would say than probably Mediterranean women. I think it's our cultural background. We women in Italy grow up thinking that yes, they are good, but often not as good as their brothers, as their male cousins, as their male friends. And I think that right now maybe is a bit less, but it's not really perfect. I was talking with a girl from high school last year, and so she told me, it's great to see that you did biotech as at the university and you started a company, because I always thought that as a woman, as a girl, I could never do a scientific university. And I was like horrified. So, and this girl was really happy to see that she could make it. And this is a great message that we have to tell girls. So I think that mentorship is something that we have to do. And this is something that I learned in the Valley. So when you, in Silicon Valley, being a mentor or having a mentor is something that is pretty normal. There are tons of programs that even help you finding a mentor. In Italy, often is something that people don't even know what that means. And they often mixed up mentorship with being a paid consultant, okay? And so, but that's a way. Tons of the things that I've done in my life, I've done them thanks to my mentors. If I had not had mentors that were opening doors for me, that were like saying, great, go ahead, Chiara, go ahead, continue. Or sometimes they were saying like, you know, Chiara, if you go under that path, you're gonna fail. And often like it happened because I then did whatever I wanted without following their advice, and I failed. I took the wrong way. But having somebody that has done, that has more experience than you, so a mentor, is fundamental. And I think that all of us, what we can do is trying to be a mentor for other women, for other girls. And that's, I think, is key, really key, and especially women with women, because I think that often, and that's another difference that I've seen between the Valley and Italy. Often in Italy, women are kind of envious. They are jealous of other women if the other women are going better. In the Valley, I've seen that much, much less. Maybe because the percentage of women in the Valley is so low that so the few women that are around are just like finding each other and saying, great, let's do it together. And so in Italy, we really should try to help other girls. And I would say we should do that starting from school. We don't have, we have to help girls building their self-confidence when they are 10, when they are 6, not when they are 40. Then it's too late. The other difference that I've seen is that in Italy, often the startup is starting to present what they've done when they think that everything is ready, everything is perfect. Okay, and so they stay close in their room, in their office, building the product, building everything. And when they think that everything is great, they go out getting feedback. In the Valley, instead, you see people pitching with literally like 2 slides and that's it. They have an idea. And it's great because they get feedback. They can engage other people. So they go out on the street and they really build and try to see if the idea is worth spending time. So I would say that these probably are the major differences that I've seen.
Yeah, thank you very much. No, actually, like trying to sum up what you've said, very, very much for your contribution. I see 3 main points, 3 main issues here. One is self-confidence, as you said. Second one is probably the lack of give-back culture in Italy, which is related to the lack of mentors in a way. And the third one is again, like due to the fact that the financial system and in general the whole stakeholder system in Italy is much more focused on metrics like profitability than financing of ideas or very risky investments. And actually, I would mount a little bit on the first point because working with the Global Shippers Community of the World Economic Forum, we conducted a survey in Italian high schools, trying precisely to look why girls do not apply for STEM degrees or STEM courses of studies. And I was astounded by the fact that the results shown that around 72% of girls in high school believe that they are not capable of even applying to start their STEM studies, and there is no actual logical reasoning for this. It's some is related to culture, some is related to some sort of biases that are around themselves. So it's a matter of self-confidence, as you said. While on the other end, I have a fresh image in my mind about Silicon Valley case studies of female entrepreneurs who ended up on the very opposite side of the spectrum, even with epic fails. Like I'm thinking about Theranos, for instance, now with Elizabeth Holmes, which is pretty much notorious for what she ended up doing with too much self-confidence in another way. Chiara Marconi, do you agree actually with what Chiara already shared with us? Do you have any additional points to add on this? Which kind of distortions do you see in the Italian ecosystem, which could be somehow sorted out in the short rush in a concrete way?
I absolutely wanted to rely on what Chiara just said, because I was lucky enough to find a mentor. She's a woman. She's older than me. She actually, she has a background in, first of all, in big companies and then in consultancy. And now she just jumped into the startup world. So she's given me, a completely different perspective. She's my mentor. She's also part of our advisory board, but I must say that she is the only women that we have in our advisory board, because for the rest are all men. And I'm struggling to find other women older than me who are willing to, to follow us and to help us. I'm not talking about because I'm not talking about the fact that there might be some, let's say, lack of interest towards a female entrepreneur. But what I'm seeing for sure is that in my target age, I'm 28, there is much more interest, much more willingness to commit to, first of all, to creating something on your own, and then on the other hand, to give back. a very good and interesting fact that actually surprised me when I came back to Italy is that there is a very big amount of young people who are very happy to work for startups. So we're receiving really a much higher number of CVs than what I would have ever expected, because, you know, I work in fashion, and fashion in Italy means that you can apply from Gucci to Prada to a huge amount of companies. Still, most young people are very interested in seeing how starting a company from scratch is work and what does it mean to do it. On the other hand, I truly believe in the concept of giving back. I'm not ready yet, of course, to be a mentor, but what I can say and what my main message is that if I haven't made it yet, of course, but if I'm managing to make what I'm doing, it's not because I'm special. I'm no different from anyone else. I might be hungrier than other people of my same age, other women of my same age, but I'm not more special. So if I made it, then honestly, anyone can do it. But then most of times we're lacking the resources. We're lacking resources from people even surrounding us. We're lacking resources from our families, because in Italy, people are much more used to seeing young person who just got out of the university looking for a full-time job that hopefully you will keep for the rest of your life. There is a completely different mentality. So if you lack support from your peers, if you lack support from your family, and then ultimately you lack support from the ecosystem that should support startups, meaning banks or investors or venture capital system, then it becomes quite hard. And then at the end of the day, there is a very big difference in the concept of startups in Italy compared to foreign countries, even from the UK, for example. So in Italy, being a startup means just, you know, creating a new project. That could be just opening your shop in a city, which, you know, it's because it's the Italian mentality of being an entrepreneur. Whereas if you think about startups in the States or in UK, is make it or break it. So you're not building something to have 10 people working for you for the rest of your life and having a turnover of 200,000 euros, which is still, you know, a good achievement, but it's not like a big success. And this is one of the main problems that I see in the Italian ecosystem.
Thank you, Chiara. Now, prior to moving on to Q&A, because I want to leave some space to the audience.
May I just add, Alice, add a couple of things?
Of course, go ahead.
Just to add on the conversation. I mean, about the failure topic, I believe this is something that it goes, beyond entrepreneurship and female entrepreneurship. This is a problem of Italy, I mean, our culture, because, I mean, failure is, I mean, historically is something that must be avoided at all costs. So it's something that we are changing, but I mean, it's something that you cannot change like this. So it takes time. And the second thing I wanted to add, I mean, this, which is kind of in line with mentorship, I think we also need a lot of role models. Because, I mean, in the 50s, we had a number of entrepreneurs, male and female, extremely successful. And so, I mean, it was kind of very cool being an entrepreneur. But then, from that period onwards, we just assisted, the sales of those companies, and much less new startup and new companies. So, I mean, it takes a bit of time. So if you see, I mean, a number of successful entrepreneurs, a bit younger than the previous generation, and if you see the success, then also all young people can follow the path because it becomes cool. But at the moment, I mean, we are kind of in a transition phase. Starting the new flow, but that's it. Please.
Sorry, if I may add one little thing concerning failure. I remember very well that foreign investors told me, they asked me have you already failed once in something? And there has been more than one investors who told me, I'm never going to invest in someone who hasn't failed before. Whereas in Italy, I had the very same conversations with Italian investors and business angels, and they see it the opposite way. If you failed, that means that being an entrepreneur is not your call.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's actually part of the same culture we commented before. It's very, very tough, to change the Italian culture. Like, it takes some time, takes some, I guess, generations. So, to overcome the stigma of failure would definitely take some effort. So I totally agree with Monica that we need role models as well. We need mentors. We need a give back culture. So definitely agree with you. Very, very telegraphic. I would ask you just to provide some some advice on the mistakes not to make for entrepreneurs, wannabe entrepreneurs, or actually current entrepreneurs, you may know, in Italy, considering all the things we already shared, and considering, of course, your background. Like, very, very telegraphic. Then we'll move on to the Q&A.
I start?
Yes.
Okay. To me, the three things that so my advice is have a good idea, test it as much as you can. So talking to other people, and as I was saying before, ask for feedback, try to explain it the easiest way, and see if other people can understand, because it will be much easier to communicate to the large number of people, and also to the investor. And then find and choose the right team, co-founders and people within the team, because basically, a good idea is not enough. You need to have excellent ability to execute. And that's it from my side.
Yeah.
Telegraphic.
Chiara G, as telegraphic as Monica. If you
Perfect.
Monica was very telegraphic. Yeah? It's very tough.
Yes, a tough call. So I think that another suggestion is that, another advice is that if you want to start a company in Italy, try to build a network as soon as possible. So stay out, go out, talk with people. The startup community in Italy and the ecosystem, the innovation ecosystem in Italy is pretty small. So you better know everybody, because at the end of the day, investors, potential hires will double check on who you are. And the more people you know, the better it's gonna be. So don't wait until the day you start doing fundraising to start building your network. Do it from day zero.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree on this as well. Chiara Marconi, and then we'll drop the ball to the audience.
Yeah, well, most of the suggestions that I wanted to provide have already been said by my colleagues. What I can add is know your numbers very well, especially if you're a woman, because most of the investors that you will face are usually male, and there is this unconscious bias that women are not good usually with numbers and finance. And base your company on data as much as possible. So start with an MVP. Don't wait too much to go out on the market, and then talk to people as much as possible, because just a good idea, as they said, is not enough. You need to have a good idea, a good team, but then at the end of the day, you need clients, or someone who is willing to pay for your idea. So talk to people and gather information and data to continue working on your project and be ready to change.
Thank you, Chiara. Now, we have a couple of questions already in the Q&A session. One is about success and the other one is about COVID. I would start from success and then go back to COVID. So Anastasia asked us basically, what does it mean for you to be successful, actually? So again, if you can provide your ideas on this, very, very tough question. So good luck.
To me is, my objective is really to change the rule of the games in the real estate industry. So to me, being successful would be to reach this dream. Really, I mean, this old-fashioned industry try to change completely the thing. And so if I reach that point, I will be successful.
Nice.
Tough one, but that's it.
Extremely tough. So for me, being successful is being able to have an impact on our country, on Italy, and being able to help building the ecosystem that is needed if you want to have to start a company, successful company. So being one of the dots of the network, of the ecosystem, and building the entire ecosystem. That's my goal, and that's what I want to do.
Chiara?
Yeah, for me, being successful is being able to challenge the status quo. And there are many different status quos, so I may sound a little too romantic, but my idea is that to be successful, you should be able to achieve whatever your goal is in your life, and without being afraid of being judged by other people. If your dream in life is to become manager of a company, then go for it. But if your main dream is to be a mother with 10 kids and you manage to do it, then go for it.
Thank you very much. Then we have the next question from an anonymous attendee asking which kind of unexpected challenges you met during these unexpected times. So with relation to the COVID age, tons of unexpected challenges, I guess. But can you provide your insights on these? Can you share some ideas?
I mean, in my case, I mean, we were in the middle of a capital increase process, and honestly, I mean, we were pretty close to find a couple of investors, and I perfectly remember that we had a video call on March 6th. And it went extremely well, so we were pretty happy, and so we were saying, look, it's kind of done, blah, blah. And then the 9th lockdown, 9th of March lockdown. And so basically from that moment on, I mean, all the investors were like in a wait and see mode. And so, I mean, the challenge was really find the way and the resources really to survive during this phase. And definitely we proved that we managed, so we can kind of survive with the company. Now the problem is really to get the investment to scale up. Otherwise, we can be like a small agency in Italy, but it's not I mean, reaching the goal.
Yeah, thank you.
For me, I think that the major challenge is we are not as an entrepreneur, but as a person. So right now with my consulting company, I help other institutions, other companies, especially on strategy and innovation. So right now it's the perfect time for me for what we do. The challenge was that I realized that I really need to meet people in person, because that's how I get recharged. That's how I get inspirations. That's how I build myself as a person. And so being in a lockdown period that cut everything, all the relationship, all the possibility to connect with others in person, that's been very tough for me. And I guess it's been extremely tough for everybody. So I'm, of course, not the only one.
No, absolutely. It was extremely tough for everybody, I guess. Like for myself as well, at the very beginning, I was impressed also by the fact that we ended up, locked down in 2 seconds. From my perspective, like we lost, tons of the normal kind of freedoms we give for granted. So it was kind of a tough environment from that as well. Chiara, leaving you the last word on this.
Yes, well, we had 2 main challenges. One is quite similar to Monica's one, because we were just about to close our round, and which luckily we made it. We closed it last week, but we were supposed to. Thank you. We were supposed to close it in April. So this created quite a few challenges in terms of cash flow management. Also because at the same time, part of our business model is also based on the wholesale channel, so retail. And as you can guess, it went down to zero. And we were struggling also to get paid by the retailers and by our clients. And then the second main challenge that we faced was team management. I would have never expected, honestly, because we're all young and we are quite used to work from home or wherever you are. But then, especially when you're a startup and you need to do a lot of brainstorming and you need to, get your ideas together and grow together, it's quite hard to do. I mean, we all love Zoom at the end of the day, but being together is different.
Yeah. And then we have a final question from Juliana. She asked us a very deep question, actually. Like, how do you keep yourselves motivated? How do you manage, and if you manage, of course, to separate your personal life from your work and daily routine, actually? Monica, do you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of motivation, the passion, the joy that you that my husband was able to see in my eyes is really the fuel that really managed or helped me motivate myself every day and get up every morning and really do the next step. And even in a very tough and challenging times like what we are living or we went through this month. The second part was the personal and honestly from the type of experience I come from. I mean, I'm talking about the consulting experience. The life as a startup is not easier, because in terms of time commitment and really, I mean, basically bringing your job at home, and so basically working night and day is kind of the same, and even if a bit with some more anxiety for the team and the resources and so on and so forth. But what I find easier is the fact that I can organize myself. So I'm a bit more flexible, and this I appreciate a lot. And this has been and is still extremely important to me.
Chiara?
So for me, building on what I was saying before, talking with other people is what really motivates me, and seeing that and see the results that I can achieve. But especially talking with other people and see that I can do something good for them. That's something that really brings tons of joy to me and passion. I've been working in smart work since 12 years. So for me, the separation between work and personal life is not in terms of being at the office or not, but it's more being, I became very good in separating and dedicating time to work and time to myself, my family, my friends. So if I'm at home with my grandma, for example, I just switch off the phone. No way. That's the time that I want to spend with her. It's extremely important, and there's gonna be nothing more important than that during that time. Full stop. So I'm extremely, and often, so when I have things like that, I just switch off the phone. Or if it rings, it's silent anyhow. And so I keep a separation, a deep separation, because otherwise at the beginning I was driving crazy because I was not able to separate, and I was always with my mind inside my work things. That's not sane, that's not healthy.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree on this. Like burnout is always behind the, behind the curtain. Chiara?
Well, Chiara, I would need some help because I'm not able yet at all to separate things. And sorry for the environment where I'm doing this call at the moment. I'm actually on holiday with my family, and so I'm doing this webinar from inside a car. So I'm very
Yeah, in
sorry.
fact, actually, I was wondering where you were. Like, but, yeah, I guess right. I guess right. Okay.
But I made my best. That said, well, consider that my business partner is also my best friend. So it's really, really hard to launch a company with a friend of yours, which is something that, especially at a young age, usually happens. And you need to find some time for yourself and for the relationship to being kept even outside of business. So you need to be able to find also, let's say, other topics of conversation. That said, I'm 28, and my idea is that as long as you're young and you don't have kids, or you don't have kids yet, then you need to be ready to commit to working late at night, especially for your projects, at least at the beginning. But then you need to find a balance, as Chiara just said, because otherwise burnout is really around the corner.
Thank you, Chiara. I see Gabriel again, so I guess our time is out. Actually, like
yes, absolutely incredible panel. Thank you, Alessandro. Thank you, Chiara and Monica. Really, really appreciate it. And Chiara, thank you for doing it from vacation. It shows a lot of dedication to, and the questions and answer session, I just heard from everybody, they really enjoyed everything. So thank you everyone so much. And we're going to be heading on to the next panel.